Peace, what's happening? Are y'all out there? Sunday. Well, let me get started. So I said more drama, and really, this is really a case of how everything ain't for everybody. You know what I mean? Some people, put mustard on their hot dogs. Other people ketchup, and they can argue back and forth. You know what I mean? It's certain things is just people's personal preferences, or their base of knowledge or whatever. So a lot of times, particularly in this community, when we're talking about specific people, somebody might say, well, I like so-and-so. Yeah, but in the 9 times out of 10, you don't know so-and-so. You might have had a couple little interactions, whatever, but, for the type of things, at least a guy like me, when I start discussing some major character issues and, in the past, dealt with, fraud and theft and everything else, I get it. There's a lot of people who like those people, and are like, no, I get it. In this case, I think two things that have happened recently have more, shown this thing more than ever. And that is, one of them, this whole deal with this Clifton Braithwaite guy. So, he continues to talk shit, on the Facebookings and, to people that we have in common offline. But like last time I said something about him, and I'm prepping y'all because I'm about to go nuclear again. Not in this video, but I'm putting together something that should be the once and for all. Stupid. People be driving crazy. But putting together, something that should just, be the once and for all. Because, many people who I know, who also know him, either have thought, I'm lying or making stuff up, which it's not something I do generally. I wouldn't do it in this case, and I don't need to lie or make up anything. The truth is damning enough. You know what I'm saying? Then also, too, folks who felt like, when I made a video discussing him before, that may happen again, people be like, yo, why are you picking on him? Or why are you attacking him? Or whatever. And one of the things about how everything ain't for everybody, clearly these people missed the videos that he made. And, granted, I understand he has a habit of taking videos down because, that's cowardice in my opinion. But, because if you said it, stand on that business. And if you said it properly, there should never be a reason to take anything down. Henceforth, why I don't. Well, now Facebook takes them down after 30 days, whatever. But I've been saving them and putting them on YouTube for posterity. Yeah, because I stand by things I say. And I say things even when we're dealing with, controversial issues or difficult subjects. I say it in such a way that I don't have to get grimy. I can speak very clearly and about a bunch of stuff. But it's sad because people who didn't see what he said, first of all, then when they see me, they think, let's talk like little kids now. They think, oh, Jamal, you started it. No, I didn't start it. He started it. You know what I mean? He's the one that started saying stuff first. And as all the time with most of these situations, with individuals, they say something and I'm responding to it because unfortunately, it'd be a lot of lies involved. So the first video started with, you know, him talking about all this, you know, he gonna beat me up and I don't want none of him, all this, and you know, he gonna pull up. And it was just a bunch of tough talk. And not for nothing too, what's also crazy about it is he's not known for that, like that, nothing. And once again, like I said before, I just don't know why he would start, you know, with me. You know what I mean? But whatever. This has escalated to conversations we've had offline. He's called me all sorts of bitch ass niggas and all sorts of stuff. Once again, he deleted another Facebook post, but he was putting up some. No one has still told me what was said, and it doesn't matter. All I need to know is that he had the audacity to do something like that. But he was, you know, speaking ill of my mother on Facebook as well. So I kind of use this as a thing so that when these things happen, nobody talk to me like, oh, Jamal, why you wilding out? Or why you going after Cliff? Or whatever. No. And some people, like I said, who, you know, I have witnesses who were either there the first time I confronted him, because now his whole thing is, you know, you scared of me, you be running and all. I mean, the last time, or the first time he had done this, you know, I approached him down the bowling building, and he did not want any of that stuff that he was talking about. And once again, I'm not rah-rah with it. I'm just like, yo, man, let's go up the street here. Let's go in this park right quick. And he was not trying to do none of that. He started making a whole bunch of noise. A whole bunch of women came to assist. You know, break it up. I'm like, no, there's no problem here. This man has said this, that, the other, and now I'm here, and I'm just quite politely actually saying, yo, let's take a walk up the street. You know, I don't got no threats and no nothing. You know, I want to see all this stuff that he was talking about he was going to do to me. And since then, you know, since he ran that day, you know, and back shuffled all out of it, you know, he's been talking more brolic on Facebook and to other people. It's like that day, all this could have been finished that day. There was nothing between us but air and opportunity. You understand what I'm saying? All you had to do was walk around the corner, right? And you know, the bowling building is down Dudley. Just walked up to that parking lot in Dudley. Ain't nothing gonna happen to either one of us there because, you know, nobody cares. You know, you can drink a bottle of vodka in there and you know, and shoot some heroin. You know, ain't nobody gonna notice. So, you know, sure, we can go on this little 30-second scuffle that it's gonna take me. You know, what have you. But then, like I said, so just recently, you know, he had put something up about my mother on Facebook. You know, once again, like I said, nobody tells me what it is, but, you know, it was disrespectful. And more so than that, it's also erroneous. A lot of people, you know, I get these questions and whatnot. There's this girl who be calling me, not calling me, but be up on the Facebook, you know, questioning me with all this, you know, like Monica remnant stuff and whatnot. Like, yo, I heard you only hate Monica and you try to ruin her life because, you know, you tried to holler at her some years ago and she rejected you. And so ever since then, you've been trying to destroy her life. I'm like, wow, okay. That's, I don't know how many people have heard that or whatnot, but, you know, it don't get more untruer than that. You understand what I'm saying? There is not a iota of truth in that. You know, and I've broken this down before too, because I got certain people to, you know, hone down and like dig into the lie that she's saying. So it's like, you know, well, when is she saying it? She said it was when she was in high school. She was 15 years old. Well, great. We could do the math. When she was 15, right? When she was 15, I was 25. And when I was 25, that would have been 1996. And I was living in Atlanta at that time. I was in Atlanta from 91, 92, all the way to 97. Actually, really 90, but in any event. So yeah, just, you know, lies like that are just easily provable false. You know what I mean? And the fact that people just make this stuff up is crazy. another one that this young lady has said is that, well, it's come out before. Somebody before had said my father is white. Now, I don't know what somebody else was trying to say on the other tip or whatever, but somehow I hate white people, and I will never admit to being half white. And I'm just like, wow, people just know me so little. Or some people have insinuated about my sexuality, he gay, and so I just don't know where all of these lies come from. And obviously I can't spend, my life trying to do it when they're so obviously stupid. But one thing I could say about me as a person, if my mother or father, or grandparents for that matter, or great-grandparents for that matter, were white, I would say so. Well, I don't know if people think that, like, I really care what people think, or like, because, not for nothing, generally the public don't think right anyway. So I can't spend a lot of time trying to correct what the public be thinking about big issues where they're so often wrong, or little personal stuff that deals with me where they're so wrong. I can't go around, look, people think the earth is flat. What, I'm supposed to go around disproving them? You know what I mean? It's just, it's tiring. So if folks want to believe that, I'm gay, I'm mixed, or that, I used to try to holler at Monica when I was 25 and she was 15, which would also make me a pedo, thanks. I don't know what to do about it. You know what I mean? But if I had family that was white, I would say so. I don't care about what y'all think. It don't diminish me. And same thing. And if I was gay, I would say so as well. I don't care. But, the facts are that I'm black, Jamaican black, Cape Verdean. Both of my grandfathers have Cape Verdean in them. I have some Native American as well. I have Blackfoot on one side, and then Cherokee on Blackfeet, I think, on my father's side. No, part of self. I fucked that up. They're both on my mother's side. The Blackfeet comes from my grandfather, my mother's father, and the Cherokee comes from my mother's mother, or grandmother, really. Actually, great-grandmother, but whatever. I digress. My point is that, these would not be things. So it's funny to me, and like I have to tell the lady who was asking all these insane questions, is, do people perceive me to be that weak, that stuff like that would break me or something like that? Like, no. Like I said, if there was white people, I would tell you, I don't care. Why would I care? If I wanted to go marry a white girl, I'd do that too. Why would I care? But the fact of the matter is, I'm black, I'm straight. If I get married, it will definitely be to a woman of color. Whether that is black, Latino, Asian, or whatever, we could argue about that. For sure. And then also too, the Monica thing, that really kind of bothered me, because, well, once again, because like I said, the time frame that she now, has settled her lie on would mean I was 25 and she was 15 and I tried to holler at her. And I'm like, yeah. The joke I told people is, like, the last time I tried to holler at a 15-year-old, I was 12. You understand what I'm saying? I don't like these type of things. But in any event, back to the Cliff thing as well. The threats that have happened online, and once again, y'all might not see it, but I saw them when people brought it to me. At least I saw the first one, because after that I blocked them. But people still tell me about the other ones. You know what I'm saying? And then, as I said, we've had now the 2 discussions, where he has gone completely brolic and out of character. And the funniest thing I find out, in this whole thing, is that he continually says he wants to fight me, but he says he wants to do a charity boxing match. And I'm like, He said, you can't and should not explain ignorance. Yeah, but I mean, it be coming from so much. So I be trying to do these videos and, you know, just like to put it out there because, you know, Boston is such a gossipy place. And a lot of folks, unfortunately, spread the lie because the lie is juicy and sexy. And they're too cowardly to ever ask me directly when I would give them a direct answer. Anyway, once again, what? Huh? Who am I trying to impress in Boston that I care about? I mean, not for nothing. The only person who I really give a crap about what they think about me is my daughter. Other than that, trust and believe. I do not care. Hold on, y'all. Give me a minute. I just need to tap this card and put some gas in my car. Hold on. Yeah. And doing the food thing and whatnot. I need to do a goddamn a GoFundMe or something, because you already know this gas is crazy. I've been doing this all this time, you know, paying for everything, and it was all cool when the prices was reasonable, but now this is hurt. Alright, let me see here. Since we're here, I can show you what we're working with too today. And it's a light load today, too. Let's see how I do this. How do I turn this around? Okay, bang. Yeah, so light load today. But you know what I mean. Potatoes, peppers, veggies, you know, of all sorts. Green pepper, orange pepper, whatever. What's that? Coleslaw. What's that? Strawberries and basil. I know. Another box over here. Had a lot of oranges and whatnot. We got some cheeses and we got a couple little meats in there today. What's that? Yeah, some ground beef, since everybody got beef. Yeah, some nice little breads. There go the strawberries and all that. What's in this one too? Oh yeah, more strawberries and stuff like that. Oh no, man, I was only trying to put a couple bucks and ended up doing that. Damn. Where do I give the food out? And actually, let me put this cover on. I deal with shelters and old folks buildings. I deal with shelters with, like, you know, women and children and all this type of thing, and then also shelters like domestic violence and this type of thing, and you know, yeah. The gas right here, I'm at Hadoff's. You remember that one up by English High School, whatnot. So right now it's $3.79 if you do cash, $3.89 if you $3.89 if it's card. Yeah. All right. Well, that at least took me to a half a tank, and not for nothing. Since the gas has been high, I haven't been driving my truck. I've been driving my little Kia for obvious reasons, because the truck, this thing, sucks up gas like rock stars do cocaine. You understand what I'm saying? So, oh, let me put that card away. Yeah, okay, so back to the story. So once again, you know, there's a lot of people who you might not see the first offense, but you gotta trust my judgment and know that I'm not crazy. I don't just be, you know, going around wilding for nothing, right? But every time that there's been a situation, it's been me responding. That's how the Monica started. She went in first, I responded, okay? Right now, this whole thing with Cliff, he made that video. Like I said, many of y'all didn't see it because He took it down within an hour because, oh boy, did he know he messed up. But I saw it. Cindy Diggs saw it. So that's a good witness because, you know, y'all trust Cindy and all this. And Cindy was there at the Bowling building when I confronted him as well. Darren Howell is aware of all this. Another good person. So yeah. So I just don't want people to think that I'm out here somehow starting these things and bullying people or whatnot. No. But you know, as the saying goes, you keep telling lies about me, and I'll keep telling the truth about you. You dig? So that's the one thing. And everybody ain't oh, you said it's 360 in Charlotte. Nice. So, you know, what I started with this with is just, you know, everything ain't for everybody. So there's those out there who like Cliff and you see him as a stand-up guy and you think that he actually has some sort of function in the community and in a leadership, or, you know, you buy into this craziness with, you know, him promoting himself as a Boston statesman without even knowing the definition, and, you know, all these types of things that are just so obviously clownish. But it, you know, some folks rock with that and they say, no, he's a real dude and all. Okay, so then we disagree. If that's your barometer of the realness, then clearly we come from a different place of thought. You dig? As of late, it's been real funny because he's been, you know, remember how they said, should have never gave you Negroes. I forget what the technology was at that time, but old joke, you know, it was like, should have never gave you Negroes this or that, whatever. Well, Cliff is one of them. Should have never gave that Negro AI. But God bless his little heart, you know, because I didn't know he had it in him. You know, and maybe somebody's helping him or something like that. But he's been putting up some little AI stuff. And this is where you can get into the psychology of a person, because, you know, his AI stuff makes him look like he's He-Man and the Masters of the Universe. He's Lion-O and the Thundercats. You know, he always looks super heroic and, you know, a lot more buff than he actually is in real life. And, you know, it's always like, you know, championing the community, this, that, and the other. You know, he was in City Hall the other day for something, you know, I'm going to say it was a minor issue. I forget what the issue even was, but it was like, it was something to do with seniors, but it was like such a low thing for seniors. It was something like, I want to say, was it something about like how seniors can get their Uber orders or their Uber Eats orders or something like that. I think that's what it was. But, you know, don't quote me on that. But whatever it was a very light issue. And he just, you would have thought he was, you know, putting forth the Civil Rights Bill. You dig? So that was one. And then if you saw the one where he's, you know, standing and, you know, morphing into a lion on his chest, and, you know, you got people adoring, you know, community members on all sides, you know, men and child and a young woman and all these things, and they're all looking at him. It's almost like what Trump did with the Jesus thing. But, you know, looking at him like he's, you know, my hero. He got pyramids in the background, and, you know, then Boston sky. I mean, I find it quite humorous. You know what I mean? So, and generally, this is the other thing people need to know about me. I'm really actually nice. When I say nice, because I don't be bringing these things, like, now I'm bringing it up now because, you know, he just went off again the other day. But generally, I see that stuff, I laugh. I might have a laugh with me and my inner circle of friends or whatever. But every time he do something, I'm not blasting it or what have you like that. I just think it's really funny. And once again, to me, it shows this overinflated ego that really, you know, once again, he just fancies himself in such a community leadership position, and he's really not. And then, you know, he was talking some mess on, some of y'all might have seen that. I hope that's still up there. I don't know. I didn't really pay it no much time. I said what I needed to say. Because he keeps doing this thing like he's going to beat somebody up. And then I propose a simple solution. Well, let's just meet up, Franklin Park. It's real simple. And then it'll get to the, yeah, you know, my heart don't pump Kool-Aid. Okay, great. All that. You know, back in the day, it's like, remember when folks used to start or act like they want to fight and then they just do this in a circle? Yeah, I'm not with all that. You know what I mean? Particularly when I've been threatened. So if that's the threat and you say you're going to beat me up, you're going to do all this, this type of thing, great. I don't believe you. I'd like to see that. I don't believe it could happen. So I'd like to see it. And because of that, since you keep expressing this fantasy of beating me up, I can make it real easy. And once again, because I know one of us is transportationally challenged, we would have to meet somewhere, or, you get an Uber or something like that, or whatever, because I know you don't have a vehicle. Man, you could pull up on that sidewalk or something. Yeah, come on, man. I can't get through there. All right. So yeah, I find all this comical. It's crazy, but it's still it's comical, but I am disappointed that, in our community, when a lot of times somebody might not see the original offense, and then folks think I'm tripping. You know what I mean? And no, I'm quite sane. I'm quite rational. Some folks have talked to me like, yo, you need to chill out like this. Like I'm some raging beast or something. I mean, do I sound out of pocket or something like that? And, it's just, I don't know. I'm too old. I'm too grumpy to be dealing with this type of stuff, and especially stuff like this that is just pure fantasy. You're gonna beat me up and all this. What are we doing? What are we doing? So, in any event, let me get on to the other thing, because this is also indicative of the thing I'm talking about. So then, of course, the black market situation happens. Now, I made some comments that weren't in favor, questioning and, just talking about my own experience, which was less than stellar. And also, too, as y'all know, Depina, he made a video as well. Now, y'all know how he talks. So, he, in my view, went a wee bit far, as he's been known to do. Just in terms of, like I said, I can do all that same thing. I'm not super fond of those people, but I also don't have to, call nobody out their name or whatever. I can stick to the script, my experience, the facts of the matter. And, I saw the video. Well, I've seen basically all the videos that they put out. And I don't even want to do like a in-depth deep dive on it, but I don't believe those statements to be 100% factual. I believe that the videos that I saw, at least, that as kind of with everything, they putting a spin on it to make themselves look better or less. I don't want to say guilty, because it's not like, well, I guess I could say guilty, like less guilty of mismanagement, and more it was all these external factors that really have screwed us up. So that's I don't, once again, I guess I said what I feel comfortable saying. The videos that I've seen, the statements that they've made, I myself do not believe those to be 100% factual. I think there's still a lot more to the story that they're not telling, and the story that they are telling, as most of us, when we all tell stories, right? You're doing so, and you're painting yourself in the most favorable light. You understand what I mean? I'm guilty of it too. I mean, right now, what I'm doing is painting myself in the most favorable light. Just in my case, it also tends to be, you know, because I really haven't done nothing wrong. Because, like, you know, I'm not perfect in my life. So when I have done things wrong, I address it, you know. And when in the future I do things wrong, I have no problem admitting it, saying it, whatever. But there also, too, is certain things that I'm never going to get caught up in. You know what I mean? Just because I don't rock like that. You know what I mean? So I remember in the beginning, too, one of the lies that Monica had put out there, one of the first lies Monica put out there, is she had told a group of black men that I'd call her all sorts of the B word and all that. And the lie didn't fly in the community because folks know I don't talk like that. So, never happened, you know. I do find it quite entertaining and cute, though, that that people did come to me, like some of those who did believe it, and like thought that they was going to check me. Like, so I didn't say it, but what if I did? Then what? I know one year Minister Farrakhan discussing the killing of Malcolm X. And this is when tensions were still high and bad. Things have calmed down. But Farrakhan famously said, you know, everybody talking about the Nation of Islam being accused of killing him or what have you, or Farrakhan himself having a role in it. He said, and if we did kill Malcolm, what are you going to do about it? Yikes. So there's that too. You know, had I been disrespectful to Monica, which I wasn't, I just don't know who among the group of folks who spoke to me about it thought that they were capable to check me, chastise me in any way, shape, or form. And once again, of course, it wasn't true. So it was easy, but the question would be, so what if it was? What was y'all gonna do? So everything ain't for everybody. A lot of people have expressed that they have love for Black Market. And then I've seen also people who have been speaking about, you know, negative experiences they've had, either at Black Market or trying to do something there, or negative experiences that they've had directly with, so I keep wanting to call them the owners, right? Or directly a negative experience that they had with Kai or Chris. And generally, and not for nothing too, let's keep it funky. Generally, people have negative experiences with Kai. She seems to be the more outspoken of the two, if you will, right? And handles most of the business, does most of the talking. So for folks that would have, you know, these experiences, it makes sense that might be with that. But these two things, and the reason I put them together, just show me, and past examples like the Monica situation. You know what I mean? Where everything ain't for everybody. There's a crowd of people over here who's like, yeah, that's dope. We like that. We support that. Our hero. And then there's another crowd over here who's like, what is that craziness over there? You see, so it just depends, I guess, on what side you're on and what, you know, your personal, I don't know, how you make, you know, your decision-making process. You know, what makes you think, you know, is dope. You know, and also your experience. You know, you might think Wendy's makes a bomb-ass hamburger if you've never really been to a restaurant that makes a bomb-ass hamburger. You see what I'm saying? So if you've never been, you know, you ain't gonna know. You know, if you get pizza from Stashes, you're not gonna know the difference of getting some really good pizza from somewhere, you know, of a certain level of expertise. So it's the same with everything, you know. Look, you know, I get it. Once again, for some people, they look at Cliff as a good guy. Unfortunately, I know too much. Not a good guy, you know. And even the other day, he put a thing out where I guess somebody in his circle was found out to be a child predator. And so then he, you know, blasted that information and all that out. And it's like, yo, from now on, and to speak to my lack of leadership accusation against him, and just general intelligence. He says, from now on, anybody that comes around me is going to have a sexual registration form. First of all, what the heck? If you wear Adidas, you will never know how much better Nike is. Said no one ever. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, so there are things there at play that go even deeper, you know. So anybody who comes around me from now on is going to have to fill out a sexual registration form. I think he means sexual offender registry, you know, like like there's a Corey, there's a Sorry, but I've never heard of a sexual registration form. That sounds kind of freaky. You know what I mean? But, you know, I could decipher what he meant because, you know, I have learned to speak the low level of language, you know, and decipher what it is that he is trying to say, but, you know, inevitably fails at 95% of the time. So, yeah. But for me, that says something already, because people such as himself, who was so eager to, you know, be liked, be seen, be around this, be around that, you know, you got somebody in your circle that you don't even know. I don't have those problems. But then again, everybody in my circle, I've known for probably, I don't know, the newest are like 20 years, 25 years. Most everybody else, 30, 35, 40, you know, some 45, you know what I mean? I'm 55 years old. But, you know, most of the people I've had have been long time. And at least in my circle, my cipher, you know, we don't have those type of problems. Thank God. And then the other thing, and this is what I was going to get on to with him with the AI, because once again, as I was saying, he does all these images, you know, in AI, showing himself almost as a super heroic type figure, saving Boston statesmen, and all this type of craziness. And then he used AI for me, and he used my picture from my Facebook profile, and then he has like a crown of thorns behind my head, which is weird given what I'm about to say. And then on the top it says Judas, and then on the bottom it says, "I will do anything for 12 pieces of silver." So I found this particularly funny because, once again, like, he put the crown of thorns around my head, and once again, you trying to diss and use biblical references, but you're not even savvy on the, you know, the crown of thorns went on Jesus's head, not Judas. Judas committed suicide out of the guilt or whatever. Some people say it was a religious thing or what have you. And then, you know, the whole putting me as the person who's a sellout, and I will do anything for 12 pieces of silver. My man Salih commented on it, and the funny thing about it is, like, stuff like that don't bother me. So you're claiming I'm a sellout. I will do anything for 12 pieces of silver. Great. I've been around in Boston all these years. Please provide one example, just one, in the past, whatever, from my 12 years old to now. Show me an example. Oh, and let me, my entire life, because I don't want to be, why'd you say 12? Oh, because you sold out when you was 10, huh? You didn't want to know about that one. No. So my entire life, there's me selling out, doing something for pieces of silver. Y'all just went with me when I put gas in my truck. I don't have a grant for that. All these people complaining because they just got their grant shut off. I don't have these problems. I don't get grants. I've gotten a couple of grants in my life. And once again, over the past 30 years, Boston Foundation one time gave me $3,000 to do something around when the Urban League had the convention down, you know, the Seaport. And I put out the newspapers for all those convention goers to know about black businesses in Boston. So even when I get a grant or something, I'm doing something to benefit the community at large and mainly benefit people other than myself. I put out a newspaper like that, gave it out to 15,000 people. You would think, because if it was him, would have been all on the cover like this. You know what I mean? I didn't even put my doggone name on it. You understand what I'm saying? No picture of me, nothing. A complete newspaper dedicated to Boston black businesses for these convention goers. I don't center myself in these things, and once again, 12 pieces of silver. Doing this food, sister asked before, where do you distribute it? Another fun fact, this year will actually be our 25th anniversary because, hold up, did I say that right? No, not 25th, part of self, 15th, part of self, 15th. We started this in November 11th, 11/11/2011. We started doing this Feed the Hood thing in Boston and have been doing it ever since. The only time we stopped was during COVID because, we couldn't go to the old folks' homes and the shelters and these type of things. You know what I mean? And then actually when COVID started laxing up, we were able to bring it again. But in the beginning of COVID, when everybody was like scared to death, we had to shut it down. But yeah, so been doing this all this time. I don't get paid for this. No grant, no nothing. If anybody has, not just for him, but anybody has a record of anything questionably about, like I'm a sellout or do things for 12 pieces of silver, that is very interesting. And then people don't know background stories. I'll tell you a little bit about this one. But one time when I was going at Menino so hard, a prominent person in the community, a black person in the community, came to me and basically sat me at the table and was like, yo, what would it take for your life to be peaceful and for you to leave the mayor alone? I said, what do you mean, what would it take? He's like, man, look, I'm going to write, I'm going to put a piece of paper on the table and I'm going to slide it over to you and you write down a number on it that would make you comfortable. So now I'm like, wow, this dude is like openly trying to bribe me. He's like, whatever the 10. So now me, with my smart ass, I asked, I was like, okay, wow, okay. How much is the budget for the city of Boston? At that time, I think it was like $3 billion, because now it's like 4.9. I think it was like $3 billion or 3 point something back then. But in any event, it was 3 point something. He was like, yeah, whatever. Let's just say 3.3. Like, yeah, it's 3.3 billion. I said, okay, great. I would need 3 billion. Can you do that? So my point is, in order for me to consider selling out, Jeff Bezos, Facebook boy, and Elon Musk would have to give me all of their money for me to consider selling out. Most folks just don't have enough money. You understand what I'm saying? For me to consider selling out. And thankfully too, with my former drug dealing past, I got cured of my addiction, to money early. So I don't really money don't impress me like that. I've turned down shows, I've turned down awards, I've turned down all sorts of things, and people would never know because I don't tell the stories publicly. You dig? When one year they had me in the Boston Magazine thing, the 100 people, whatever, Boston, and there was some controversy because at that time Monica had her brigade of white women call up. They accused me of being an anti-Semite. So now, and hating white people. Actually, they did the trifecta. He hates white people, so I'm a racist. He hates women. He's a misogynist, a sexist, and he's an anti-Semite. So that's what they told the Boston Magazine, with no proof of any of this. And the editor and them got real nervous and all that. And, you know, I could see they were thinking about how it affects their thing. I'm like, look, man, ain't no skin off my butt. You know, ooh, I'm the Boston Magazine 100. Like, how many people in the hood even read Boston Magazine? Nobody. How many people outside the hood read Boston Magazine? Nobody cares. You see it on a newsstand or anything? Like, magazines still exist. Nobody cares. And it ain't like they put you in there in the 100, you know, cool kids edition or whatever, and it comes with like $100,000 check or something. So I told him, I was like, yo, you know, just take me off. If it's gonna cause grief for you and it doesn't benefit me any, take me off. They had already printed the actual physical magazine, so the magazine was out on newsstands, you know, wherever you could find it, if you could find it. But for the website, I'm just like, yo, just take me off. I don't care. Do y'all give $100,000 check with that? He's like, no. I'm like, well, take me off. I don't care. No skin off my butt. I don't live for the accolades of Boston Magazine and their things. Would have been nice. I mean, I since I had the magazine too, I showed my daughter, showed my family, you know, nice, cute, whatever, but I can't eat that magazine. I can't deposit that magazine in the bank. So, you know, that's me. I strive, you know, look, I'm Rasta. I strive to move in humility without a bunch of ego and all that. And, you know, egos are like, you know, buttholes because everybody got one, right? But the question is, how much can you manage it and control it and not let it control you and gas you up, you know? But I could run around and I'm the best activist in Boston. I'm the best rapper in Boston. I'm, you know, all this type, like what is it all for? You know, at the end of the day, I just don't, you know, even like the food thing. I've seen people give out food like at a block party or something and they call the Boston Globe or whatnot. Like, I just told y'all we're going on 15 years. Ain't no big fanfare here. You know, doing a ride along with Adrian Walker. Hey, come see what I do. Check this out. Watch how great I am. I'm not into that stuff. But a lot of people are, and two, kind of like what happens with men when they're trying to deal with women. When you feel as though you lack something, a lot of people begin to overcompensate. So for whatever reason, in the past several years, Cliff has really gone off the deep end into this whole I'm a leader, Boston statesman, all this stuff. I forget what he said at the bowling. No, I don't forget. I remember at the bowling building when he was trying to backpedal and get out of walking around the corner with me. He said, man, you ain't nothing. What did he say? How did he say it? He said, like, I did more in the past couple of months than you've done in your whole life. I was just like, wow. Because once again, like, I don't care. It doesn't hurt me. But it's like, yo, do you even believe that? Like, you say these things. To me, it's like when Will Smith did that song, I Think I Could Beat Mike Tyson. And then, of course, you know, the video was hilarious and all that. But, you know, there's no win there. You know what I mean? But I can tell you, and I've had these conversations with women and all this type of thing, when people begin questioning, well, who are you and what have you done? And, you know, you ain't nobody and this and that. It's really simple. Google is your friend. So at some point, some woman was trying to compare me to this one and that one. And I said, yo, listen, it's real easy. Just Google their name and look at the results. Open another tab, Google my name and look at the results. Real simple. Super simple. Okay? So that'll let you know I'm not into no foolishness and shenanigans. You know what I mean? So you know, I just don't know what to say. But the threats and all that, I don't take kindly to. You know, this, you know, you're going to beat me up, you're going to teach me a lesson and all this type of stuff. Okay, I don't believe it. Would love to see it. The weather's been good, so, you know, It's real easy. But the other thing too is like I'm not into no clown like we gonna get together and do a boxing match for charity. That's another delusion of grandeur. No. Because number one, I don't want to wear no gloves. That's number one. I'm not putting on no little cute little, you know, with some little shorts and you know what I mean. We have sponsors on it. Like I'm not doing all that. I'm not doing all that. You issue the threat, then you trying to back it up and clean it up. Oh, we could do this charity for ball. I don't need the charity. And in your case, I know that your favorite charity is you. So, you know what I mean? And then a charity, like, so what, people were going to buy tickets? We sell tickets. You know what I mean? It's just, it's so fanciful. You know what I mean? But, you know, nothing beats a well thought out fantasy than a hard dose of reality. So, yeah. And then once again, same thing, as I said, why I tied it all together, everything ain't for everybody. There are people who feel as though Cliff is a good guy, they like him, all this, they believe he's a leader and all this. And then there are those who know better. And who can just see. You just see. You see the results, the product, all that. And then the same thing with Black Market. There's a lot of people who like them. They think that that's a good space, that, you know, all the things that we've heard, it's a safe space for Black people and art and all this type of stuff. And this is our last line of defense and Roxbury and all that. And I have a different take. So there's, everything ain't for everybody, you know, but I do believe in conducting ourselves properly. So like, you know, at least for me, I don't need to call that woman Kai from the Black Market. I don't need to call her out her name. What does that accomplish? I don't need to call Chris out his name either. What does that accomplish? But I can say that the public narrative, I'm not believing it, and I think that there's a lot more there. You know what I mean? And you know, we'll find out, because like anything, it'll all come out in the wash. I know they're doing all sorts of events now, leading up to the April 30th deadline and all that. Hey, look, you know, I can't say either way. If they make it, they make it, meaning make the deadline and they're able to purchase the building, or if they don't, it matters not to me. You know what I mean? The things that I would have liked to see out of that establishment didn't happen. And as I said, the one time that I went there and tried to do the event, it was a very bad experience. You know, one that shall not be duplicated. And once again, what I experienced was ego and arrogance and, you know, a lot of me, self, gouging prices. You know, it just didn't feel good. But all right, y'all, let me get out of here. You know, old Judas here gotta get these pieces of silver and keep selling out by passing this goddamn food out. So whatever. Like I said, I'll be putting something up, and I may have to revisit another nut who used to be going at me too, just because I'm in this mode now where I put these reports out and just put it on Blackstonian just for posterity, so people could just see and watch these things. You know what I mean? For those who actually, you know, read or are into research and investigation. You know what I mean? I've already shown Cliff's paperwork with OCPF, and it's actually worse now, because I believe back when I first showed it, he only owed $2,700. Now that is $2,700 plus $5,000, so that's $7,700 plus another $950. So might as well go to 7,700. Might as well call that 8,700 and take the 50 back. $8,650 is the current total of what he owes. And once again, don't believe me. I could be a vicious liar. You dig? I could be just doing reciprocal hate. He lie about me, so I lie about him. But once again, I don't do that. I don't have to operate like that. So the website is public, OCPF. Some people chastised me before. It was like, yo, you trying to dox this man? You putting out these documents with his info. These are public documents that everybody who runs for office, if you know, when you go to vote, people's names and their address be on the ballot. Which I really hated too, because particularly at that time I was getting a lot of death threats. But I'm like, okay, so y'all about that. And in the future, folks actually should be able to hide their addresses, particularly when you're okay. So for instance, like Ayanna gets a lot of death threats. I don't think Ayanna, when she runs, should have to put her address on the ballot, or like when Tanya Fernandez Anderson was around, or Rachel Rollins or whatever. Why do all the crazy people in the world need to know where my home address is? Can I do a P.O. box? Can I do what I'm saying? A business address or something like that? And more for that, as you see, all the three I just mentioned, more for me is for the security of women. Me, when they was like, nah, you have to put your address on there, I was just kind of like, oh, well, you know what I mean? So, it was just like, okay, so now they put me in a position where if I have to defend myself, y'all have heard me talk about that before, I believe in self-defense, and I believe in vigorous and rigorous defense of oneself. And if a person tries to hurt me and they're on a level 3, my response is going to be like at an 8 or a 9, and then we see from there if it has to go all the way to 10. But you get the point. Yeah, I'm not into that stuff. I'm not into that stuff. So y'all will see soon come, just as I put more information out. But y'all can go look it up yourself. OCPF, the Office of Campaign and Political Finance, OCPF.us, not .gov, .us. But OCPF.us, you can look anybody up, at anybody who's running right now, you can look them up in there. Anybody who's ever ran before in the state of Massachusetts, you can look them up there. You can look me up. I ran for office in 2013. All that information is still there. And you won't see what you see in Clifton's. Okay? Violations and fines, and you can even go in and see how they spent the little bit of money that they had. And for those who missed it when I covered it before, it was a whole bunch of little nickel and dime, little $7 here, a little $11 here at like 7-Elevens, and I was about to say Store 24, I'm old school, but like 7-Elevens and CVS's and little Dunkin' Donuts, just a whole bunch of bum activity. Basically, anybody who was misguided enough to donate to that man, he was just using your money to do his regular, pay his beeper bill. You know what I'm saying? Little things like that. And once again, don't believe me. I could be lying. I just made up the beeper thing because that was funny, calling him old. But no, just but other than that, don't believe me. Go look it up. You can see. You can see all the expenditures. You can see all the people who gave him money. He got one of my buddies. Gave him some money. I was like, you gave it? I said, man, you should have called me. You never give that Negro no money. Sure did. We've been laughing about it ever since. And that money, and as soon as he gave him that money hit that bank account, bam! Spending them. Remember when Wilma Flintstone and Betty used to be like, charge it! You better get out of town. All right, y'all, let me get out of here and go start slinging this food. All right, y'all be good. Have a blessed day. Be blessed. And, look out for them things. Once again, I don't see a lot because more bum behavior. He's one of them dudes who has like 3 or 4 different Facebook accounts. Who has time for all that? In any event, so because I blocked one of them, but I don't know all his other little accounts, so this is how I keep seeing things. So just, once again, don't believe me. You can see some of the unflattering and threatening things, that he said. And once again, it's comical. All right, y'all be good. Have a great day. Peace.